Let me present to you my idea of how blockchain-based token economies and AI can be revolutioning the smart cities and the governance. Governance and cities around the world are facing huge challenges: an increasing population, older population, compliance with environmental goals. There's so many things that have to be done, and actually there's yet no technology that has been able to solve these problems. But blockchain seems to be a technology together and applied and supported by AI, etc., that can provide solutions for so many of these things. So, why blockchain? Because, as we all know, it's immutable, cyber secure, transparent, and it's also generating trust. But that's only the blockchain 1.0. Now, today, blockchain can do so much more. We can, for example, do the smart contracts, the automated transactions without the middleman. We can do what's called an tokenization of any asset on the internet, both or on an asset like both physical assets and services like votes and so many things. So actually, it opens up new huge possibilities for what's I think is one of the most interesting things, which is the token economy. The token economy, where we can provide money, digital money, and services and tokens that are programmable, that we can program with what, where, when, how, and in which conditions this money can be done. So we can generate and regenerate and solve so many of the services and problems that the cities have today in new ways. Okay, blockchain has changed finance. We saw in the roundtable before, and blockchain is changing industries all around the world. But blockchain can also change cities, because cities are very useful and a very good testbed for blockchain, because blockchain is useful where there's low trust. Of course, in our governments, there's some countries there's no trust at all. Where it's valuable with decentralized information, where it's important with immutable technologies to avoid corruption, etc. There's a need for transparency. We can automate processes, and we can apply data analytics. So let's look how this can be applied into smart cities. A lot of use cases. We're going fast. Governance in cities are carried out in 4 ways: democratic processes, state bureaucracy, public services, and regulation. For example, democratic processes. Voting. Voting is one of the key issues in society for the democracy. Today, voting is applied in a way that I think is not very useful. It's like 200 years ago. And we can see there are a lot of revolutions around the voting system, a lot of fraud. Digital voting and voting based on blockchain can be done digitally on our mobiles. We can see if our vote has been registered. We can see for whom the vote has been registered. We can vote for different areas in different questions. We can rank alternatives. We can vote conditionally, for example, and maybe we do like 2 candidates. I vote 40% for him and 60% for him. So blockchain can be a revolutionary for the democracy itself, and especially voting. We can make what's so important with the public collaboration, where the citizens get involved in the cities. So these city platforms that today are just run for a couple of years and then can be changed when the next government come, we can keep them on the blockchain and keep them with the registration of the decisions of the citizens forever. And we can also even change and find new ways of the democratic process with technology and solutions like the liquid democracy and so on, which actually change all the way radically which decisions are made in the cities. The next area is the state bureaucracy, that heavy, absolutely super boring part, where there's so much fraud. And we can apply solutions that are transparent, immutable, and cyber secure. For example, in the public administration, we know there are administrations that are absolutely 100% digital today, and many of those are starting to apply blockchain. Estonia is one example, and Dubai, that is said to want to be a paperless society in 2020, will base big part of their state bureaucracy on the blockchain. We have identity, for example. Today, your country is owning your identity and they give you the passport. That's a huge problem with refugees, for example. They come to a country without the passport or identity. They can prove who they are, what they have done in their life. So a blockchain-based identity that is actually tried out now with the UN is a very good solution for identity. Taxes, for example, another thing. Taxes, there's a lot of fraud, taxes, VAT, etc. If we register our taxes on the blockchain, oh, something happened. Okay, this is the right, yeah. It's actually give a transparency and we can show the people actually have paid the taxes. The next thing is accounting, public accounting. We don't know actually what the spending is done, where the spending is done, when, how, who is paid, etc. Public accounting on the blockchain guarantees transparency for all the citizens, so we can see actually all the accounting of the public administration in city and national governments. Digital currencies, of course, they will started to be issued. For example, I think Sweden is one of the first countries that will issue the Swedish e-krona, which is tied to the currency, but gives so much more flexibility to the users, and we don't have to walk around with our bank accounts, visa payments, etc. Land title registration is not a problem in Spain or in Sweden or many countries, but in countries and places where there is war, etc., all the registers can be burnt down or they can be removed from the databases. But with a digital registration of land based upon blockchain, we can guarantee that the land registration still follows the right owner in case of crisis, war, or anything. Environment control is one of the biggest issues for the cities today to fulfill the new environment expectations, etc. We can easily measure and keep on the internet accessible with transparent data for the citizens, for companies to provide new services and actually see what's happening. And we don't depend upon the government that will tell us that the data they choose to show is the only one that we will see. Another area is title and education. About 20 to 30% of all the titles, university titles around the world are false. They're fake. So it's very difficult also to prove, as both as if you want to prove that you have an education, or to see as an employee if somebody has an education. To put the education or titles, university titles, school titles, any kind of title on the blockchain creates 100% transparency and trust in the people, and that's a big value added both for the students and for the employees. Urban planning, land registration, etc. Those are the areas I talked to before. Maybe the most interesting area is public services that are carried out in private-public partnerships. We get the immutability, cybersecurity, and transparency, but we can also add what we earlier talked about, the token economy. The cities can now create and issue tokens for different kinds of services. They don't have to give away money for specific use, which is very hard to track and to follow and see how it's used. They can actually issue tokens, and that would be like issuing the right number of tokens of different kinds of services that are also programmable. They are sent to the wallets of the families or the citizens that use it, and they be spent on the blockchain. And where they spend on the blockchain, we can use automated functions like the smart contract, so we don't have to walk around and do the manual transactions, but these are automatically issued and spent on the internet, and the tokens are returned to the government, and then money is sent to the service provider. We can also follow the journey of all these kind of tokens, how they're spent, when they're spent, by whom they're spent, in which context they're spent. And this brings us new opportunity to apply artificial intelligence in parallel to the registration on the blockchain, because we can then learn, for example, whether public spending is worth to do and continue with that one, and continuously follow this cycle of tracking the tokens, how they're spent, register them for transparency, etc., security, but collect all this data that's in the blockchain. It's extremely structured and well classified, and we can apply data analytics, machine learning, etc., and improve these kind of services, because the public spending today it will not be possible to continue in the future. And so we can apply these, and actually this is done. There are a lot of platforms developed today, and there are countries now experimenting with these kind of things to learn. They're not fully deployed in any country of my knowledge, but they will probably be soon. We have the health and medical care also. Our identity, our information on the internet, that with blockchain can be so much better and personally owned, with where your medical record is owned by yourself and not by a hospital and spread around and read by everybody. We can apply it to education and long-time learning, and see where this money and these services are best spent for the citizen, depending on each individual needs. We can give away or handle our social welfare, which is often very problematic because people spend the money they get on the wrong things that they're not meant to spend. And that's a very big important part of these kind of public token-based economics. And the regulation, the regulated market is the last market I will talk about. Energy, for example, is one of the most important areas where blockchain is applied today. Energy, in many cases, there are so many communities building energy communities today for where the communities both generate energy, distributed energy, on a local blockchain, and where the consumption is done within this community on the public blockchain, and the blockchain is the one that handles all these payments. And when we do this, we can also, if there is energy left over, we can send this to the public energy networks and get paid to the community to maintain these kind of networks and so on. Another one is mobility, for example, is a big issue for the cities today. We have the supply chain where also the public governments are suffering because medicine, etc., it doesn't come in time. We can control the management, etc., and there's so sensible data for all this, the public health care, for example. And the circular economy, blockchain is the ideal solution to follow the products throughout the supply chain, but also how they're reintroduced in the circular economy systems to follow the energy use, the material use, water use, the ownership, etc. So, conclusion, cities around the world suffer huge social, economic, and environmental changes. Blockchain is a technology, together with other ones, that offers immutability, cybersecurity, transparency, efficiency, and new possible models for public services. So blockchain together with smart cities seems to be a very promising solution. So thanks a lot. It was my presentation. We'll be able to discuss this in the roundtable after. Okay? Thank you very much.